What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I am Sabrina Seoul. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight we have an episode of The Missing Link. I know I have been a little MIA with The Missing Link. You guys know if you have followed my vlogs. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be uploading a vlog tonight with part 2 of my bathroom remodel. I got a whole lot of stuff going on. But tonight, yes, The Missing Link is back, and I'm so excited to be here. Tonight I have a very special guest. A lot more special than what you guys know, but I do have Angel Hasun with Angel Expressions Photography. And let me give you a quick little backstory. So Angel and we have known each other for about 20 years. We actually went to college together. Her mom knew my mom. And Angel's like my bestest friend. So I tried to get on The Missing Link for season 1. I remember we had this conversation and she was like, I don't know. But I'm so excited that she is here with me today. Hello, Miss Hasun. How are you?
Yay! Hugs. I love you. Plus you also went with my mother to Korea.
Right.
I didn't go. So
yeah, exactly. And I always forget about that. And you always have to remind me that I literally was in Korea with your mom.
Yeah, with my mom. Yeah. And I didn't get to go with my own mom.
Exactly. Like I always forget about that. But whenever you whenever you say it, I'm like, that's right. It's like I can't remember that little thing. I think what it was is that time when I went to Korea, and it was all of us, because remember it was with the church.
Right.
And I think that when I went, I think I was so engulfed and so in awe of being in Korea. I think everything else around me was like irrelevant. I don't even remember how my mom looked. I don't even remember what she wore. I don't even remember who all went on the trip other than me and my mom. And I know it was a lot of us. But
oh, wow.
Everything
I didn't realize how many people had went.
Oh, it was a lot of people.
Oh, wow.
It was a lot of people.
I don't know why I didn't get invited. I'm feeling some type of way.
Which is weird, right? That's why whenever you say
why did I not get invited? Unless I wasn't living, I don't know. I mean, even if I was living in Florida, I still could have.
I was going to say we went to Korea in 2003. It was in 2003 when we went.
Oh, I think it's because I had some babies then.
Maybe that's why, because I didn't have no babies at the time.
It was just at that time in 2003, Alora was born. And then I had Elijah as well. So I had 2 little ones. And my mom was like, oh, no, you can't go nowhere. That's probably what it was. Now it makes sense. I'm not as upset anymore.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So we are here tonight to discuss The Missing Link. And you guys know what The Missing Link is. I am here to bridge a gap between the entrepreneur and the person that wants to become an entrepreneur in the field that we are going to discuss tonight. And I'm sure it's going to be a lot of other things that we're going to discuss tonight because, like I said, Angel is my best friend. So I'm sure we'll be talking about girlfriend stuff on top of The Missing Link. But of course, I'm going to try to keep it as professional as possible because you guys know I take The Missing Link very serious. All right. You ready to begin?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. So the very first question I have for you tonight is, who is Angel Hasun?
Okay, so I am a very passionate person and very expressive. And I'm passionate about the things I love, even the people I love. So that passion flows into everything that I put my hands on, pretty much. That's who I am.
Okay. So where is Angel Hasun from? Where are you from, like, originally?
So I was born in Lewiston, Maine, because my dad was stationed there at one point, and we moved to Germany. So right after I was born, we moved to Germany, and so we kind of moved several places. After that, being in Germany till up to almost the age of 5. Then we moved to Texas, and I was in Texas probably um, for about 4 or 5 years before we moved to Virginia. And then after that, moved to Virginia, and Petersburg, Virginia. And then also during that time, I probably moved several times one time during my elementary school year, I moved to Florida, came back, and moved to, in my teenage years, I was in Norfolk and Richmond and Florida and Petersburg. So every year, my high school year, I was in a different school every year. Yeah.
Was it because your parents were in the military, or what was the reason for so many different moves growing up?
Pretty much most of it was my dad. My dad being in the military. In my teenage years, my dad was kind of stationed where he was, but at that point we didn't really get along. So I moved a lot during my teenage years. Yeah. Yeah, a little personal, but we get along now.
Right. No, I mean, I get it. We don't get into it, but yeah, no, I definitely get it. So what were your favorite things to do growing up?
So when I lived in Petersburg, it's more like hanging out with my friends, and we traveled a lot. Like I'm a person, like once I got my first car at 16, I was like all over the place. I probably had so many. I had like so many speeding tickets. It was absolutely ridiculous that they ended up suspending my license for 6 months. And so I remember the judge laughing at me because I had 11 violations in 9 different states, and they were all reckless driving tickets. And so that's not really a good thing, but that's what happened. Then so I did like to travel a lot, and I did like to speed. It just got me there faster. And then when I moved to Florida, I did a lot of things by myself. So I
Like
was
what?
going out to eat by myself. I enjoyed certain things, like just walking different places that I've never been. And I think the most interesting thing is that I was 16 at the time, but I went to one of this little fancy restaurant with the white tablecloths. But I just wanted to treat myself because I worked at Burger King at the time. And so I used to walk back and forth to work. And I remember my aunt saying to me, well, I can't take you to work, and I can't pick you up, and your grades got to be good. So I'm like, okay, I'll just walk to work. It's not a big deal. So that's what I did. I walked to work so I could have a little bit of money in my pocket. I didn't have to ask her for deodorant, lotion, and all that stuff. Yeah. So everything else is kind of like, and plus we used to go to like jungle gardens, and I would go to the beach, Siesta Keys. So Siesta Keys was right near where we lived at, and it's supposed to be one of the best beaches in the world.
Okay. What were some of your hobbies growing up?
Oh gosh, I sewed my own clothes.
Okay.
For one, that was one of my hobbies. I did a lot of things on my own. I used to just make things, like anything that I wanted, I would make it. Even when I was younger, I was just really creative. I would take acorns from outside and make them into couches for Barbie, for like Barbies.
Oh yeah, I'm like, for who?
yeah, for Barbies. My creativity started very young. So
I get it, mine too. So I get it.
Yeah, and my mom she didn't buy us a lot of stuff. Like we didn't have we had those cheap Barbies.
Yeah.
The little cheap Barbies where the legs could come off and pop off. They were plastic, and the arms could come off. So
like the Dollar Tree.
Yeah, I just make it pretend like they're handicapped. So like,
okay.
Yeah, I'll make little crutches for them and whatever and however. So I had a really crazy imagination as a
Yeah.
child. So I didn't realize how creative I was until I was in the third grade and I drew um, a picture that was inside. We were supposed to, for a book report, we were supposed
Hmm.
to draw a picture inside of the book. So I drew the picture, and everybody claimed that I traced the picture. But I'm like, how can I trace the picture when the picture is bigger than the actual page? So, and it didn't dawn on me that other people couldn't draw. I just thought everybody could draw.
Okay.
So yeah, and I think that's when it really hit me that I had something that some other people didn't have, and
Yeah.
I didn't know that I did. And so after that, my creativity just went everywhere because I remember my dad used to always tell me, it's nothing you can do, Angel. Anything that you want to do, you can do it. Anything.
Yeah.
So that's actually how I felt. I always grew up with that kind of confidence. Like,
Hmm.
there's nothing that I cannot do. If a pipe breaks, I can fix that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. If if the fence falls down, I can fix that too. Like, so I always felt like I could, if I couldn't buy it, then I'll make it. And my kids get aggravated with me because they're like, we'll go to the store and I'm just like, oh, we can make that soap. We don't have to buy that soap. We can make that shampoo or we can make this. And yeah, I just like doing stuff like that. But after I realized how much work is involved in it, it's just kind of like, oh, you just do that a couple of times. It was fun. But no, I'll just buy the soap.
Exactly. Because by the time you get the ingredients, you do
Uh-huh.
this, you do that, you make it, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then you like, I should have just spent that
Yeah.
$1.89. Like I should have just did it. Because by the time you do all the work and all that, you done made a $25 soap. Because it was a
Right,
lot that
right.
went
The
into it.
experience is cool though. It's a cool experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
afterwards, you're like, oh, I could, yeah, I'm just gonna buy the soap, buy the shampoo. My daughters are like, gosh, do you have to make every? I'm like, you don't have to buy that. You can make that.
I get it, but because I'm a creative, you know what I mean? So it's like I get it. And that's one thing that I had to learn. Um, and I really don't even know if a lot of people even recognize their creativity because creatives, we our brain is wired differently. We
Right.
think differently. And it once you realize it and you recognize it and you embrace it, oh my God. Like you said, you can do anything you put your mind to. You know, some people just don't have that side of their brain where they can really they just don't get it because and that's just one thing like with me being in real estate, like I can go into an empty house and I can envision and imagine something just from its shell. And I can say, ooh, this, that. And that's why I guess I really enjoy interior decorating because I can go into an empty space and envision how it could look. I've been with people and I'm like, ooh, this will be good there. This. Like, you don't see it. And people will look at me and be like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
you
that's how I
know?
feel. It's like even picture, like I can vision something by looking at it flat. It's really
Yes.
interesting just looking at the work like around me flat. And
Yeah.
it's like it's different. Even draw it, like it helps me to draw it if I can vision it that way. But other people can't do that. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So it is interesting because I I like the fact when if it's something that I do want that I don't care if it's a piece of pottery and I take over my kids' projects, like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's cool that you have like that creative brain. Because when I thought about, I was like, I wonder if like my daughter has that brain, and she actually does too. And I'm like, oh, she must have
Mhm.
got that from me, you know. But
Right.
I think it's so cool because it really allows you to live your life once you've embraced it and you like it's respect. And then it's like once you've embraced it and you realize you have those kind of capabilities and qualities, and then you actually start applying it, it's like some of the amazing things. And that's how like little kid geniuses and kid, anything, that's how they start, because they start at such a very young age and they don't even know what they're doing. They just kind of just do it,
Right.
and to be able to embrace it is amazing. And then to grow up to be able to actually do your craft and make money at it is even more amazing as an. Of course. So, okay. So what did you want to be? So I hear all these different things that, you enjoy doing. You're creative. You enjoy making things and sewing things. So what did you want to be in your teenage years, let's just say, or even in your younger years? What did you want to be growing up?
I wanted to be an artist. I
Mm,
wanted to draw, and my mom kind of discouraged me from that.
mhm.
She said there was no money in it. So, just that's a Korean mom for you. So it is. So she's like, no money, no money, no. And so I wanted to go to Virginia Beach to an art school because at that time it was the only art school that they really had in the area.
Mhm.
And so instead, I went to HBCU, to Virginia State University, and I went there for psychology and social work because there was, a short period of time that I was actually in a group home. So during that time, it kind of made me want to help people, and I wanted to kind of I wanted to help troubled girls. And I was like, I'm gonna have my own group home, and I'm going to kind of teach and rear them and stuff like that. And I thought it was a great idea. And as I was going to Virginia State, I was mentoring at Peabody Middle School, and Peabody can be quite troubling. And so, but I was mentoring 4 different girls at the time. I think one thing that crushed my heart is that one of the girls that I was mentoring, she ended up pregnant. She ended up moving back with her mother, and her mother was on drugs, but she was dealing with this guy. She ended up pregnant, and when she ended up pregnant, he didn't want the child, so he decided to come and shoot her. So he shot her in the stomach, and she opened the door, and so she didn't have, she wasn't here anymore, and the baby didn't survive. So that kind of was toiling for me because I realized how connected I was with the girls. So I was connected to all 4 of them, and every one of them had different issues. But that right there just broke me. And I was like, I don't think I'm capable of handling the emotions that come involved with it because I'm too attached.
Mhm.
And so I kind of went from going to school for psychology and social worker, and then changing and deciding to go to ECPI for computer programming because I like working with computers too, and I was really good at math. So I started doing that and computer information, and I started going to in the workforce. I was doing accounting, accounts receivables, payables, and billing, and payroll on top of that, and auditing.
Mhm.
So all of that had to do with numbers. And I like numbers, but I love people more. So it's like the only thing that really gave me some kind of, I guess, excitement from it or made me feel accomplished is if they had something that they couldn't find and they couldn't figure out, and I was able to figure it out, then I kind of pat myself on the back. So, but other than that, it just didn't bring me any excitement because I realized I'm a people person. I like to be around people. So, what ended up happening is that eventually I decided I was going to go to school for some web designing as well. And then I did some graphic designing, and I started working with small businesses to start my own business, working with small businesses that didn't have the graphics like to advertise. So I would do the advertisement, and I would create menus, I would create flyers, and I incorporated photography in it as well. So everybody liked my pictures, but I wasn't a photographer. I was graphic designer. That's where I was leaning to. But eventually, so with getting married, having children, it kind of put a wedge between the relationship with me and my now ex-husband. So my business kind of went on the back burner. So it was like probably 2 years young. And then I was doing pretty good with it, but was kind of stressed with the responsibilities because of trying to juggle being a wife, a mother, and having a business as well. And then but once after my divorce probably was my redemption moment. It was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because my marriage was miserable. It was. And so that was the beginning of me starting to go back into graphic designing. And when I went to go back into graphic designing, it led me into photography. People were like, oh, I like your pictures. And then that's when I realized I didn't really understand what lighting was. So I took a whole different journey.
So, what made you want to even start getting into photography? Because we know, like, you went to school for graphic design, that's what you were doing with the advertising. And even though people liked your pictures, why did you, in your head and in your heart, feel like, you know what, I want to start doing photography? Like, what happened that actually led you up to want to even become a photographer?
So initially it was like, oh, can you take pictures for my birthday event or whatever? And they were like, oh, I'll give you $100 or $150. So I thought that was a lot of money. I'm like, ooh, $150 in one day. And and the event is only what, 3 hours? That sounds pretty good. And so at first I didn't realize that wasn't really a lot of money, but to me it was a lot of money. I'm like, as much as, because I was doing everything, even mystery shopping and tutoring after school. I did it all. And then so I was like, okay, I'm gonna start doing that. So after I was doing one event and another event, and then I realized I didn't really know how to take pictures. Like, because people would say that, oh, your pictures are so nice, they're beautiful. And I'm like, oh, they're dark. Like or it's too much shadow over here. And, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. And I didn't know how to edit at the time. And so I started going to a camera club. I did started to get an interest because I'm like, ooh, it's kind of good money. It's a little bit of good money in this. And I've always liked taking pictures, but I only like taking pictures to, like, I have pictures of my friends. I have pictures of everybody came to me was like, oh, Angel probably she has pictures. So I always had pictures. Like, I always liked taking pictures, but never looked at it as a career. Like, that's just something I like to do. And so when I realized that, okay, it's more to photography, it's a lot more challenging, I think that's what kind of pushed me and intrigued me. I like to be challenged. If I do something that doesn't challenge me, I don't want to do it. I get bored really fast. And
Yeah.
so then that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna start going to this camera club, which it was a friend of mine, Brock Thomas, that ended up introducing me to the camera club. Not only that, but he started teaching me as well. So it's like I appreciate him because he was like 2 years into photography and he didn't mind like trying to teach me. So he taught me the basics. He would send me tutorials. I'm like, okay, like just flood, okay, like Angel, look at this, look at that. And so I thought it was pretty cool that it's like he wanted to see me advance. So when I started work, doing the camera club, I met this guy named AG, and he kind of, took me under his wing a little bit. And he was like, Angel, you're an amazing photographer. You just don't know it yet. He was like, your eye, like it's just, and I think that's why people would like my pictures because of the angles and the composition part of it. But my lighting was awful. And
Yeah.
and then that's when I realized I had to understand what lighting was about. And after I took the camera club class, and I was using, like, initially I was using the plug-in lights, and those plug-in lights don't work outside. So you just have to, you got to use them inside. And I knew that my wheels in my head started turning when I did this maternity shoot. And I'll never forget it. I was doing the maternity shoot. I had my lights, and I forgot the little cord piece to it, right? So I can't put the light bulb in something that doesn't have a cord. So I only had the tripod, and I had the softbox thing. That's all I had. So I'm like, oh my God, Angel. So I live like 45 minutes away, so I couldn't just tell. And plus, she was 8 months pregnant. So she's not gonna be like, oh, I forgot my little lighting thing. So my head started turning, like, where can I find some lights at? So I was in the art league at the time. So I go right into one of those utility closets, and I found a utility light in there with that big silver round thing with the orange awful looking light on it. It was god awful. So I take that and I tape it around the tripod. So I taped the light around the tripod, and I was like, what about that god awful orange light? So I changed my white balance in my camera, so it wouldn't look orange. So I changed the color in my camera. And then I was like, it's hard. The light was hard. So I was looking around for tablecloths or whatever. So I found like a small, it looked like a pillowcase, but it wasn't. I don't know what it was. This piece of white material. And I took that and I threw that over the light. And I created this picture of her, and I made it black and white afterwards. I actually won a contest on that picture.
Right.
I did. I won a photography contest on that picture, which was pretty amazing that I did, because they just don't know what I went through, and it was to create that picture.
Exactly.
And yeah. And so my education started to move even further, where I wanted to learn off camera flash. I started practicing 8 hours a day sometimes. I would stay on tutorials. Then I eventually went to WPPI in Las Vegas, where it's a world portrait, it's a wedding portrait photographer conference. So it's like classes for a whole week. You have classes with all these amazing photographers around the world. And then after that, I was like, I met Roberto Venezuela, which he's a Canon ambassador, even though I'm Nikon. He's the Canon ambassador, wonderful teacher. Didn't know who he was. Didn't know. The only reason I went to his class is because I had to fill in that class. I'm like, I don't know any of these people. So I took some photo walk classes as well. And then I decided, okay, when I met Roberto, he taught very well. And I think I liked he was so humble. He didn't mind showing all his awful pictures. With the place that he's at today, he showed us these pictures. I wouldn't even imagine, like, he had this baby that he took a picture of, somebody wanted, and all you could see was stomach of the baby, and you couldn't see the head or anything. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And he showed these pictures that he did of some cheerleaders, and they were all shadowed out. Like, it was shadows over here, shadows over there. It was all, I'm like, that's awful. But it felt good, because it's like letting us know, like, I started at a place where this is what my pictures look like, but this is how my pictures look now. And it gives you inspiration to feel like, oh, if you started like that, I know I can get there, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I felt. And so I took one of his classes in New York, and I started to love Roberto. So I took his classes in New York. I took his classes in Arizona. I took his classes in Las Vegas. So I became a true follower. And his classes ain't cheap. They sure ain't. They're like $2,000. They're definitely not cheap, but he's well worth it. He was well
Yeah.
worth it.
But that just boils down to, and I say it all the time about how you have to invest in your craft. You know, if this is like your career and this is something you're really taking serious, you definitely have to put back into it. You know what I mean? Especially if you're making money from it. So,
Right.
and we're going to get into that with like the equipment and stuff like that. But let me ask you this. What can you tell a beginner, somebody that's beginning photography, what do you personally feel like is the best camera that they could start with?
Um, just make sure it's a DSLR. That's it. Just make sure you can manually shoot. So there is no Nikon is good, Canon is good, Sony is good. They're all good cameras. There's a lot of debate about the two, but when you're beginning, it really doesn't matter. You need to learn how to actually manually shoot than just pressing the shutter and clicking auto, And I think even starting with a starter lens, a lot of people are always talking about, oh, you need a 50 lens or you need something that's 2.8. So 2.8 is how much glass it has. The more glass that a lens has, the more expensive it is. So you can have a $4,000 lens, $6,000 lens, or you can have a lens that costs you $200. That $200 lens you may feel like it won't achieve what you want it to achieve, but that's not true. It's about using lighting and distance. If you start to learn how to use lighting and distance and start to think about your available light, what light do I have available to me? If you don't have like all these soft boxes and things, create it like I did. I created that utility light and I made a soft box out of it.
Right. So,
And it became soft once I put that. That's like a window. If you got light coming through a window, initially that glass is kind of making it a little softer, right?
mhm,
Once you put a curtain over it, you done made the light even softer. That's
mhm,
when they start talking about beauty dishes.
mhm,
That beauty dishes is nothing but a metal piece in the middle where the light can go around so it's not creating that hot spot on your face. And then this white piece of vinyl over it that makes it softer. That's a lot of the things before they even made those expensive soft boxes, people utilized what they had. If you
mhm.
learn how to utilize what you have, you'll be able to create amazing things. Um, Even there was a guy that asked me, it was a friend of mine. She's like, Angel, can you help this photographer out? He actually has a studio in the mall, but he has to leave for just a couple hours. Can you go and help him out? Because I was closer to him. And I said, sure, I'll go there and help him out for a couple hours. So he told me, Angel, all you have to do is take your camera. This camera right here is connected to my computer. All the pictures go to the computer. The lighting is already set up, right? So in a situation like that, he's like, oh, the lights are already in place, so everything will be fine because he's created a setup that's going to work for everybody. Well, me, because I'm such a creative person, I'm like, oh, I don't like these boring lights. So I start switching the lights around. I start looking at what he had over there, like clothes. I seen a red dress, and it was this little boy that was on this little motorcycle, right? That they had in there. So he had all these costumes over there. So I took the red dress and I said, "Ooh, I want red light to go across the motorcycle." So it looks like it's just red light coming from the motorcycle. So I took that light and I put it closer to the ground and I threw that red dress on there to create the red light. Then I took a couple of things like to to make sure the light didn't spill, right? So I took 2 pieces of paper and I taped it on the side and taped it on the other side so it wouldn't spill to the left or the right, and it will only go directional. So I wanted the light just to hit the motorcycle and not hit everything else and not spill. But they got equipment for it. They got grids for that. They have filters for that. I mean, the little what do they call it? They're not filters. They're called where they're just little pieces of plastic that you put on that are different colors on your flash and stuff.
Yeah, I know they have them for ring lights. I forgot what they're called. They're like the plastic films. They're kind of
right. So you just got to get your mind to working to say, okay, if I can create it with this big, expensive $3,000 light, what's up with the light? It's the difference in the light is how big the light is. The bigger the light, the softer it is. The closer it is, the harsher it is. Like, it's just techniques that you start to learn. You have to practice. The more you practice with light, you'll start to understand what it does. And that's really what you have to do, is do a lot of practicing.
So I'm sorry to cut you off. So, because my initial question was, is for a beginner, what is the best camera to use?
And just a basic camera, just a DSLR.
Right. So this is the thing. You're talking to a bunch of people that don't know what you're talking about. What is a DSLR? They're like, oh, just use a 9437.
Okay. So
people are like, what?
Okay. When you go into a camera store, there's 2 different cameras. There's the point and shoot. And what a point and shoot is, everything is auto. They automatically determine what the camera is going to do based on the lighting that comes inside of the camera, right? So those are the cheaper cameras. Any camera that you got to switch the lens on, you got to put a new lens on, is a DSLR. So that's the camera that you can manually shoot with. So
I'm sorry. So, but do you, now say for instance, you have different type of photo shoots, obviously. One might be headshots, one might be wedding, one might be athletic. Do you use different cameras for different photo shoots?
No, you don't use different cameras for different photo shoots. You use different settings. That's why I said it's very important to learn your manual settings. And your manual settings is shutter, right? One is shutter. You tell the camera how fast you want the shutter to go, how slow you want the shutter to go. That means you can stop time, right? In a sense. If a fan is blowing like this and you have that shutter on really, really high, it will look like the fan's not blowing. It'll be completely still.
Right.
If the shutter is down all the way, then it's going to create that blur effect. So you start to determine, what do I want to do with the shutter? Do I want it still or do I want it blurry? And there's times that you're going to use one or the other. Then you have to determine, how much light do I want to come in the camera? And when you determine that, that's when we're talking about that ISO part, right? So you think about your available light and how much light do I want to come into the camera. Then after that, then you think about, how much do I want in focus? Do I want like just this woman in focus, or this guy in focus, or this child in focus? Or do I want the whole background in focus? How many people are involved? Am I doing a group photo? So if I'm doing 10 people, how many people do I want in focus? So that becomes your focus. So all of them work together like a clutch, like if you got a stick shift, you got all of it has to work together. So you can't just focus on one. You got to figure out what's more important to you. What's more important? My shutter, my focus, which one is lighting has to be important no matter what.
Right.
Which one is more important? So once you realize, oh, my shutter is more important than my focus, then that's when you you start with your shutter and then you create where you want your focus to be at. So your lighting balances out, because you want all three work together to create light. So if one is too, if the numbers are too high for your aperture, when you want more light to come in, you have to bring it down kind of low. But what happens is it loses focus too. So that becomes the determining factor. So then you're like, okay, maybe I don't want to lose focus that way because I still need the light. Maybe I need to create distance. If I create distance and I zoom it in, then I'm going to lose light. So you got to start working, like your mind has to start thinking, what are other ways I can lose light without having to change my focus?
So now let's talk about your photo shoots. What kind of photo shoots do you personally do?
So I was doing everything at one point.
Everything like as in what?
Portraits, weddings, senior shoots, proms, commercial shoots, model shoots, everything anyone gave me, I would take. It did help me to expand and learn different things. Headshots, I was doing headshots for businesses. I did it all, but I'm more geared towards doing more creative shoots now. I kind of went out of I'm not doing as many weddings anymore because I started to move towards just weddings and portraits. That's it. And weddings was my moneymaker. Like a lot, I mean, it's saturated. And a lot of people want to do weddings because people charge, there's different levels to people in the wedding photography business. So with me, my level was kind of at the 3,200 to 6,000 range. I know people that do weddings for $20,000 because they're doing weddings with people that have that kind of money. Well, I kind of wanted to move out of weddings because weddings are challenging, which is good for me. But once I mastered that, like one of the things that's challenging about doing a wedding is if you got to go from inside to outside, from one room to another room, the lighting is going to constantly change, constantly. So you have to understand lighting. If you don't understand lighting, people are going to be disappointed because they're like, why is this blown out? Why am I shadowed out? Why is this? You need to learn how to be able to create where your available light just doesn't determine what your lighting situation is going to be. And so what I ended up doing, I like to do the more creative shoots that I started off doing in the beginning, but it wasn't my moneymaker at the time. And that the creative shoots is more like alter egos, levitations, emulating celebrity, photographs, creating your story. Whatever your story is, I'm going to take that story and I'm going to create it in a photograph. So your image is going to tell your story, whether it's your life story, whether it's your journey, whether it's your dream, whether it's your aspirations. It doesn't matter what it is. But I've had people that have dreams, and or one girl,
I was about to say, kind of give us like an example.
Okay. So one of the shoots I did was this alter ego shoot where this woman, the way she was feeling is that she used to be a model, but her modeling career kind of was set aside because she got married, she had children. So with getting married and having children, it changed the direction because of money. And so she decided at that time, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she did bowling on the side for fun. So she started doing something where she was part of a bowling league, and she was really good at it. But she always wondered where her modeling career would have ended up if she would have stayed there. So it's always been something that kind of, it's like, I wonder if I took this path, what it would have been like instead of taking this path. And how could I have incorporated the both or whatever? So it's kind of like telling her story. So the way I told her story was, okay, we're going to do it at Uptown Alley. It's a bowling place, and it had lava lights that were coming across the sides. So I'm like, oh, we can imagine where the lava lights are and where the bowling lane is, and that little strip where you walk down, that could be a runway. And we'll just imagine that's a runway. And we'll imagine that, the lava lights is kind of like thinking about your modeling career. So the whole point was for her to take the bowling ball. And so that other part of her, where she's at now and what she likes to do is to bowl. So to take the bowling ball and kind of imagine herself modeling, because I see the lava lights, I see what that looks like, a runway, and it's making me think about it. But I got to suppress that thought because that's not where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to suppress the thought, we took the bowling ball and threw it at her modeling ego. So that was the story. That was her story, but it resonated with her because that was her story. So it made me feel good after we created the picture. Was like, oh my God, like this is exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
This is how I feel in my life. This is how I'm feeling now. But we also spent about the rest of the time, about a half an hour doing a real model shoot. So it was the experience on top of it. It's like, oh, okay, I got to experience the feeling of being a model again, get dressed up, have a makeup artist, have the hair. It was her own hairdresser that came, but she came and she made sure that her hair was straight. Then we had a makeup artist, so it was fun for her. I think it's more about the experience too. You still got to make some good pictures afterwards.
Right. Exactly. Because with the alter ego photos, obviously with her being a bowler, she has this one look. But then in the same picture, you have her as a model. So she's fixed up. She's, what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's two different people in this one picture.
Picture.
Yeah. So I get it where you say like I mean, of course it kind of makes sense to have like a makeup artist, and like if you want to go like all out, and to do that and to make a whole day of it. And I mean, because it is something kind of cool, because like you said, it's with, something that was inside of her that, and I know with alter egos, it's, and I know personally you, so of course I'm talking to you as if I don't know you, but I know you and I know all these stuff. But it's because we have to relay this information to the people that's going to watch this replay back, the people that's watching it right now. So I know you've talked to me about all different kind of other situations. Like, for example, guys, meaning alter ego, like say, for instance, if it's, you always wanted to jump out of an airplane, let's just say. And one thing I can tell you, you guys need to definitely check out Angel's website and some of the pictures, and like go on her social media, because she even has, it's so crazy. Because remember when we did the photo shoot where, God, what is her name? I can't believe I can't remember her name, but she was pregnant and the red and white dress. Remember I made that?
And I had her floating over the water.
Angel, like Angel's editing, she literally had her looking like she was floating over water. Like it was so crazy. And I'm just like, wow. And just the editing that she does, like with her pictures and the alter ego photos. And if it's anything that you guys have thought about that you might want to do, and the girl floating don't have nothing to do with the alter ego, but say, for instance, if you wanted to jump out of a plane, but you can't because of something. So she could have you probably jumping out of a plane. And then but this other person, the alter ego, is like, no, you can't jump out of a plane because guess what?
Right.
you sit behind a desk every day. So that's two
Yeah.
literally different photo
Mhm.
shoots, and she'll blend them in and to make it look like one picture. Like it's like I'm sitting at a desk, but then it's like the person's looking up like, oh, like at the desk in front of their
Right.
laptop, but it's them coming down out the sky like this, but it's that same person that's
Right.
sitting at the desk looking at themselves. So that's what alter ego is. So if
Yeah.
you
So I did this guy one time. It was
Mhm.
fun. He actually worked for the feds.
Okay.
And so he always wanted to be an NBA player.
Okay.
And so he also wanted to be a drug dealer, right? So yeah, so he's like
I
that
was
hood.
about to say, don't give too much information.
Yeah, no, but I already had
Like, I don't want to know.
yeah, the pictures are already out there. Like they've been out there. So
I'm
that's
just joking. I'm just being
yeah. It was his story though, because he was like, he
right.
always liked, he was from the hood. So he
Yeah.
always, he kind of admired the drug life too. But
Yeah.
he didn't want to go that route because it wasn't really a, good route to go.
Right.
But
Right.
he ended up being a
He just
part of
he just wanted to have dreams of being a thug. Okay, I
yeah,
get it.
yeah. He did. But it's funny, when he was younger, he had dreams of being a thug, right?
Okay.
And then it's the truth though. And then but he also, as he grew, he wanted to be an NBA player. And then he ended up in the feds. So he liked playing basketball. So we did 3 egos.
Wow.
So in this one, we did him in the suit, making the shot, right? And
Mhm.
he's jumping up and you can see his feet off the ground. So he's making the shot. And then the guy that's supposed to be the NBA player is kind of holding the ball and was like, yo, what you doing?
Right. But of
Like
course
that.
it's him holding the ball.
Yeah, because he's holding the ball, but he's the one shooting, right? So he makes the shot. Then we have because this was in the hood. We did this in the hood. So we're on this like broken. We did, yeah, we did it on this broken basketball court. Like it had the fence around it that was like all raggedy and tore apart. And so he sat on these little bleachers behind it, being the thug, right? So he
Okay,
had the
like
gold
watching
chain.
him play the game as the
He
feds
had the
and
dope
the
chain on. Yeah.
NBA player.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So he had the dope chain on back there. It was like, whoa,
You
what's
said
going? Yeah, like that type of thing. And so yeah. I'm saying you can go wherever you want with it. Whatever. I don't knock
I'm not
anybody's
saying
story. I don't knock no one story. It's your story. It's your
that.
story. And I'm
It's
just
just
gonna
how you telling it is funny.
yeah. I'm gonna tell the story. I don't care if you want to be a prostitute, that's fine.
Oh, I get it. But
Yeah,
if you but in real life you work a 9 to 5 in the
right.
white the house that is of the color of white, and but you want to be a prostitute on the side. Like you have dreams of being a prostitute. Of course.
Right.
So she would have you, she would Photoshop the house that's white in the back, have you with the briefcase, but then she walking down the street and she walking by somebody, which is the same girl, and she, got her hand on her hip,
all of that.
like Pretty Woman or something. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so and
Some
it's the
people
same
have
person.
that little
I
risk.
love it.
Some people have that little risque side in them, but they just don't like. I'm
Absolutely.
not trying to travel down that road, but it's like
But it's just my alter ego. Like, like what did Beyonce say? Beyonce says that when she goes on stage, she turns into Sasha Fierce.
right.
So that's her alter ego. You know what I mean? So I mean, I get it. I get it. I mean, I think that's like cool. Yeah. Like
I get crazy stories. Like I had this one. It's fun. Those ones are fun to me. So I had this one where this girl was, she was kind of challenged with gaining weight, right? But she was gaining a lot of weight because of work and stress and things like that, which makes her want to eat. So she was on this journey to lose weight. So we were doing 2 parts of the alter ego. So initially, is to tell her story of what was causing her to eat. and the stress of work and all of that stuff and trying to create businesses and whatever. So what we did, we used the SunTrust building, which is, SunTrust is a bank. So we used the SunTrust building, and they had a meeting room upstairs. And in this meeting room, they have a place where, where most people would go for their breaks, right? So there's a break room and a meeting room right beside it. So right where that dividing factor was going on, part of the story was going to go on in the meeting room. But we did the first part. So the first part was where I have somebody sitting behind the copy machine where she's at, and they're throwing paper. So the copy machine is supposed to be like, it's just going crazy. Like it's just paper going all over the place. So she takes her hair and she's like this, like, I'm just stressed right now. So she's taking her hair and she's stressed, and she's showing that she's stressed. So we got this copy machine going crazy. I have another girl that's there's cabinets over here in the break room. So there's all kinds of snacks in there. So I got her knocking it down with the broom.
I was about to say, don't say another girl, that the same girl, she's just in another, because when you say
no, I have another person. You know how a person was behind throwing the paper?
So it's a whole other person in the photo shoot.
Yeah,
there's I didn't know.
Okay, because this is, so she's behind the copy machine throwing the paper, but her ego is doing this, right? Okay. So her other ego is near the cabinets, right? But the food is falling on top of her. So I got someone knocking the food where it's just falling. Okay, I understand. We just got food from the cabinets just falling all over her, and she's holding food like this, but she's taking one hand and passing it to her ego. Because she like, this is going to make you feel better. So that was her story. So that's what we created, because that was her story.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you travel for your photo shoot? Say, for instance, if someone's in LA and they're like, I need you for a photo shoot in LA. Do you travel?
Yes, I do travel. Yeah.
You like, if the coins is right?
Yeah, if the coins are right. So currently I've traveled for weddings, right? I've done weddings in Florida. I've done weddings, DC, Maryland. Maryland and DC are kind of only 2 hours away from me. But as far as portraits, I've done pictures in Utah, Las Vegas, and then I've also did pictures, because I'll tell people, like, when I'm going to a certain area, I'm going to be in this area, because you have certain people that follow you.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, okay, I can schedule a shoot while you're there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't mind traveling at all. And the other thing I want to say, it doesn't always have your story. It depends on if, like, as a visionary, it's kind of like, should that be an alter ego, or should this be something else? Like, I've done emulating celebrity photographs because someone just loved Layla Ali and she just loved Diana Ross. That's not an alter ego. We don't do an alter ego for that. I just turn you into Diana Ross for the day, or I just turn you into Layla Ali for the day.
You mean like physically, like she'll wear a Layla Ali outfit, you'll find out, you'll tell her you need to wear this
lighting.
Okay.
We emulate the photograph. Like, they have to make sure they have the right wig, they have the right, I'll make sure that, if some people want to use their own makeup artists. People are particular. Some people want to use their own hairstylist. But I have people that I know that can do these things. So if they don't have someone, then we're going to make it happen. It's like, whatever your story is, or whatever, if just like I did the Diana Ross shoot, we just took the picture in the corner and then a picture of her and showed how it matches. So, but it made her feel like she was actually Diana Ross for the day, because she just is inspired by her and always felt like she was like, could be her. So it just could be it can be anything. Like, it doesn't have to be the alter ego part, but I did a girl, she has alopecia, but she always wanted to be a swimsuit model. And so I had her out there with, the swimsuit, and we did some really funky, fun pictures with colorful dresses in the woods. And so that was fun. It's just something, it told her story. So
Right.
it's not really about me. It's not about me. It's about telling that person's story. So it's not about, oh, I think we should do this or we should do that. It's whatever that fits the storyline and works for the storyline. Like, then I have some people that they want to do bourgeois. They want to wear lingerie. They want to feel sexy. So, and it might be a little risque for them, but it's something new, something different. It makes them feel good.
Right. So speaking of celebrity photo shoots, have you ever worked with any celebrities?
No, I haven't. I haven't worked with any celebrities. Oh, for graphic designing, I have.
I was getting ready to say you have worked with some.
Yeah, but not photography though. Not photography.
Yeah, but you've still worked with.
Yeah. I've worked with Christopher Williams. We did a cigar commercial. That's video. So we did a cigar commercial, and we did a champagne line commercial because he was coming out with a champagne and a cigar. So I did both of those commercials. I didn't take any pictures.
What do you mean you did those commercials video? So like explain to me, what kind of services do you provide? So you provide videography, you provide photography, you provide graphic design. Like, what are all the things you provide?
Okay, so I do graphic designing and I do videography commercials and I do headshots. I do it all, but that's not the direction I'm going in. Those are things I contract with other people to do. Those are my gaps. That fills in the gaps when I'm not making, and this is just being honest. If I'm not making enough money that month with photography to pay my bills, then I'm going to include my other skills. And that's like, especially during COVID. During COVID, I did more graphic design because of the fact that weddings were minimized down to only 10 people in a wedding. Right. I lost over $10,000 giving money back to people, to weddings. But so I had to pivot. So like, everybody I have a certain dream where honestly, I really only want to do the creative shoots, and that's just being honest about it. And with the creative shoots, I want to eventually create my own creative center for people to be able to, other creatives to be able to create at. So that's one of my dreams. Yeah.
So what advice would you give someone who's interested in becoming a photographer?
So my advice is honestly is to first buy you a DSLR, right? That can manually shoot. Start studying what it is to manually shoot. Learn your shutter, learn your aperture, learn your ISO. Learn that all at first. Learn your camera in and out. Learn everything about your camera, how to autofocus, how to manually focus. Learn all of that. And then after that, go out and practice with one lens at a time. Don't buy you 10 lenses. Don't buy all these lenses. Buy one lens, start with one lens and start to master that lens, because you'll start to understand that some of the lenses can achieve some of what the bigger lenses do. You just have to do things different. You change your angle, you change your distance, you determine the lighting, and then you'll start to see like this thing called bokeh that they talk about. They make it seem like you can only do it with a 50 lens, right? So you put the 50 lens on And then you got this, because you got this little aperture, I think it's about 1.4. So you put the 50 lens on, and it creates, if it's light falling certain ways, then it's going to create all these little pretty circles, right? The bokeh, all these pretty lights and circles in the background. Well, you could do that with a cheap lens. If you have a 18 a kit lens that goes like 18 to 55, and the light is really nice on things, you create distance and zoom it out. And when you zoom it out, that light is going to create bokeh too. So like you only have the aperture on there. It's like a 4. So just imagine, I said there it was a 1.8 for a 50, but there is a 4. That means less glass, right? So less glass means that you're not going to get as much light. So, but if you create that, that's what I'm saying. There's tips and tricks and different ways of mastering things without having all the best. But if you learn how to use the minimal, you'll eventually learn how to take things that are like those expensive things that you want. You'll be a master at it.
So speaking of expensive things, what would you say, with all the equipment that you have right now, how much do you feel like it is worth?
Oh, wow. So just, okay, so I just my body, the bodies of my cameras probably range up to $20,000, not even including the lenses. Um, so the lenses, because I have, those the lenses with a lot of glass, with a VR stabilizer and all of that stuff. Those lenses range from pretty much 4,000 and up. So just in my lenses alone, I'm probably talking a good 30,000. Then we got to go into lighting. So going into lighting,
Stay still, Angel.
oh, I'm rocking. It's this chair. It moves. It makes it fun. So with the lighting is probably where it's, oh gosh, because we're talking lights, reflectors, grids. We're still talking over $20,000. So
Yeah. So
it could,
you would say you probably have about what, $70,000 to $80,000 in equipment just for your cameras?
yes, I do.
Yeah.
But I didn't start off like that, but I still created beautiful pictures. The only
Yeah.
reason why, I'm gonna tell you why I bought the equipment. It makes life easier. That's all.
Okay.
Makes life easier. So if would remember how I was saying how I put this cloth on top of the light and I did all these different things. The wheels in your mind have to turn more.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have smaller lights and you don't have really big lights, you can create more soft light. So you start to realize that certain equipment you want, you don't have to have, but you want, because it avoids 5 more steps, you know? So it's like one light could stop you from doing the other steps to make it to create the same thing. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you should learn, because what if your equipment goes out, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the mind to know what to do. You can problem solve it
Right.
and
Right.
come up with other ways. If something stops working, what are you going to do? Are you going to rely on that, or are you going to figure out how do I use my available light? What do I do? How do I still create this image that I want? If
Right.
for some reason, or maybe you left some equipment.
Right. Right. So, are you working on any projects right now that you can and would like to share?
So I am working on a project, but I can't go into the details of it. But I can say it's a very good commercial shoot, right? That is going to be pitch to like own TV in different places. So that it's a TV show. So there's a TV show that pretty much they have to pitch to different broadcasting networks, and I created the pitch deck for that TV show.
Yay.
So
Well,
that was fun.
congratulations.
That was fun and interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you do get that, I hope it works out. Let's pray and hope that you do get it. And if you get it, I would love for you to come back and talk to us about it and to give us like the behind the scenes and what you did. And, you know, because that sounds interesting. You guys know that, you know, I was on the Oprah Winfrey Network. So if you do get picked up for that, I would love to hear about it. And, you know, with part that you played into it. So, so let everybody know. Oh, so say for instance, if someone wants to book you for a photo shoot, an alter ego, a creative photo shoot, anything to do business with you, how can they get in touch with you?
So first of all, I will always ask people to go to my website just so you can look and see my style, right? Because everybody they have their own style of photography and what they want. So that would be angelexpressions.photography or angelexpressionsphotography.com. And then the other thing is I have Instagram. So that's Angel Expressions. Facebook is Angel Expressions, and I have different pictures on each one. So you can kind of see my creative style on each one. So all from the website to Instagram and Facebook, they all have different pictures.
So just to let everybody know that Angel's website, her Facebook, her Instagram, and actually her LinkedIn, all her links, her actual links are listed down below in the description box. So all you have to do is go and click it if you are interested in booking Angel. She is based out of the DMV area, but as she mentioned earlier, she does travel. She is a traveling photographer. All you have to do is shoot her an email. So other than that, is it anything else that you would like to conclude with? Is it anything else you want to say?
I mean, I think one of the things is I always tell people to challenge me. Don't think it's anything that I can't do. Like if you think it's so far-fetched or so, you know, out of this world, challenge me with it because I'm pretty sure I can create it.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually really pretty amazing. I'm glad that you told them that because it'll also give them the idea to think outside of the box. Like, hey, I was going to tell her to do this and that, but she said to challenge her. I wonder if she can do this and that.
Right.
So that's good that you put that out there. But other than that, this was an amazing interview. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. You know, I love you. Like I said,
I love you too.
At the beginning of the video, if you guys are catching towards the end of the video, everyone knows that Angel is actually my bestest friend in the whole wide world. And I love her so much. And I think she's so talented and so amazing. And I'm so glad that she took the opportunity.
And I feel the same way about you. You know,
thank you.
You're so talented and amazing.
Thank you.
She has her hands in a lot of things and she knows how to do it. That's why I feel like that we kind of, you know, we really resonate with each other because we both even though my focus is photography, I do graphic designing, web designing, video, all of that, all in that same realm. But Sabrina does it too. She's the model, designer, and she also does styling and everything. And you do not just the designing, you actually do the sewing. She sews too.
I do. As a matter of fact, you can see my sewing machine right here. Like I literally sit in front of that sewing machine and actually make a lot of the clothes that you guys see me wear. So I do hand make it. And I'm self-taught, you know, like Angel self-taught. So yeah, we absolutely, we talk to each other all the time and we push each other. And it's crazy because she's my best friend. You know, we get on the phone. She's like, I have so much going on. I'm like, girl, me too, girl.
I do. I put a lot on my plate.
Yeah,
you put a lot on your plate too, but it's, I'm proud of you. And
and I'm proud of you too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I probably shouldn't have got this chair because I'm like a child in it.
You know what? Let me tell you something. Because I try to be really, like I said in the very beginning of this interview, I try to be very professional. I even sent you a message in the private chat. I was like, Angel, stop swaying. And I didn't want to say it on the video.
I see it now. I see it. It says stop swaying in the chair. It's
you was like this the whole time, and you was like, well, because the 3554 of the DSLR, you know what I'm saying? Because
oh gosh, we gotta do this over.
I was like, oh my god, and I didn't want to be like, Angel, stop.
We gotta do.
I was
I
like,
am so sorry, people. I'm telling you, I'm a child at heart at the end of the day. And so this part, this is not very professional, but it's fun. It feels
and you know what? And I said, this is probably making her feel comfortable during the interview. And I said, I'm just gonna let her sway. It was like, sway on, girl, sway on. But towards the end, I was like, I'm starting to feel motion sickness a little bit because I'm trying to keep my eyes on you. Anyway, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, guys. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. I have some amazing content. And guess what? I am uploading a vlog tonight. Stay tuned for the bathroom remodel. Yay. And definitely hit up Angel for your photography needs. Anyway, I love you so much, guys.